Lesson all about undefined terms. This is the first lesson in the undefined terms unit, and it covers UT1 and UT2. Now, UT1 is all about undefined terms, and UT2 is all about, collinear and coplanar. Okay? So these are the two learning targets that it goes over. Now, the first one we're going to talk about is UT1, and that's this one. Okay, so UT1. Just going to zoom in just a little bit so you can really see good, alright? Okay, so there are three undefined terms. There's point, line, and plane. Okay? Those are the three. Now, a point, alright, looks like this. It's a dot, and we usually give it a name, like A. Okay? A line will look like this, and a plane usually looks something like this. Scoot it over a little bit. Alright, now the reason they're undefined is because they don't have definitions, right? So you can't really describe a point. I mean, you can describe it. You can say it's a dot or it's a very small spot in space, but there's not really an official definition. So the undefinition will say a dot. Okay? There you go. It's a dot. It's one-dimensional. Okay? So it doesn't really have a definition. It just sort of has a description. Okay? Excuse me. And if you're ever going to write a point, alright, you would just call this point A. So this is point A. And it's that simple. Okay? Alright, now a line, right, notice it has these two arrows, which means that it goes forever in both directions. So the undefinition, right, is that it needs at least 2 points, because if it only had 1 point, it would be a point. So it needs at least 2 to be a line. So you need 2 points, and it extends forever in both directions. Sorry, my pen is a little weird. Okay, so this is the undefinition of a point. Now, if you were to write the word like a point in your, I don't know, you're writing in your essay or something, it would look like this. You write the 2 letters, and then you just put a little line on top. Okay, see that? Alright, now there's actually 2 other kinds of lines that you might have heard of. There's this one, which is called a segment, and there's this one, which is called a ray. So these have definitions, but only because this one has a definition. But these are other forms of a line. So a segment has endpoints. It doesn't extend forever. It stops. A ray has one endpoint, but goes forever in one direction. Okay? Alright, now a plane, what a plane is definition is that it is a flat surface. So imagine the floor is a plane, but the floor doesn't stop within your room. It will extend into the other rooms. It will extend outside your building, right? It goes forever and forever in every single direction. So it extends forever in every direction. And we usually draw it like this, like a piece of paper, right? Because it's just a flat surface. However, you only need 3 points to be a plane. So we'll call this D, E, and F. So if you were to write a plane, right, you would write the 3 letters, and then you just put whatever shape your plane is in front of it. So you only need 3 points to have a plane. Okay, so here are the 3. I'm going to highlight them. Point, line, and plane. Alright, now, these are the 3, it's only these 3, so sometimes you'll get questions like, which one is an undefined term? And one of the choices will be one of these 3, and then the other 3 choices could be things like square, or segment, or circle, right? All those words have definitions, but these 3 do not. You can describe them, but they do not have definitions. So, why are they undefined? Right? So they no definition. And you also notice that these don't really have an end either, right? This one could get smaller and smaller and smaller. You could think of this point as actually having a million little points inside of it. This line will go forever in both directions, and even the plane will extend in every single direction possible, right? So they have no ending. Okay? Okay. Alright, so that's UT1. Alright, now let's talk about UT2. Okay, so UT2 is all about collinear and coplanar. Okay? Now, collinear has the word line in it. In fact, I think I'm going to use my yellow just to point it out. Just like coplanar has that word plane in it, and that's very important to remember because collinear means that collinear are points on the same line. Okay? Coplanar are points on the same plane. So these would be like points all in a row, right? Because if you connected them, they would all be on the same line, right? Now these points would all be on the same plane. So like imagine a table is a plane, right? All the balls on the table would be on the same plane. Okay, so here's an example of one of the problems. All right, Julie has volunteered to pick up her 3 friends on the way to the party. She asked you to help her figure out whether they are collinear, right? In order for her drive to be easier. Now, the reason her drive would be easier is because if her friends are collinear, that means they all live in a row, and she would just have to drive straight, right, and just pick them up one after another. So we need to tell Julie whether or not her friends are collinear. Now, these are each of her friends, so we'll call this one A, this one B, and that one C. Okay? Now, one of the ways you could do this is graph it, right? You could graph it and you could see if they're on the same line, and then to prove it, you would have to prove that they're on the equation, alright? So I'm going to sort of skip this part and go straight to how to prove it algebraically, right? Now, in order to prove it algebraically, so we want to prove algebraically, sorry, there you go, okay? You would need to prove that these are collinear.